Okay, now we are inside Google Chrome and we're going to look at competition, how I see competition when I come online, when I'm gauging a market and whether to enter that market or not. I'm going to be looking in particular at the UK property market. Let's say that I want to come into this niche, and as a property investor, as somebody who talks to people and helps people to invest in property, I want to set up a business within this niche. I want to become an influencer and generate content, giving people information so that they will come into my tribe, and then I can later make offers like running property training events, consulting, mentorships, a private community, for example. So we're going to look at property tribes because we're looking for other players in this particular area that are bringing in a lot of traffic and are potential competitors in terms of this particular niche. So Property Tribes is a forum. It's the #1 property forum for private landlords in the UK. Obviously, if we're looking at the US or globally, would expand our reach. But what I want to show you first is we can take this URL and take it to Alexa. Now, Alexa.com, very confusingly, is owned by Amazon.com, but it's not the same as the Alexa that you talk to. Their Internet of Things speaker, computer, I'm not sure how you define it. It's different. Alexa is a company that's existed for 10 years or so, even more, where you can come and you can plug in an internet address and get details about that website, about how many people come into that website, about who their competitors are, etc., etc. This Alexa has been around for a long time, and Amazon recently, in the last couple of years, purchased it. So don't get too confused. We're coming to Alexa.com. Once you're at Alexa.com, come to Tools, and then Website Traffic Statistics here. It's a free tool. So all I've done here is I've put in propertytribe.com. It's immediately given me some other websites that I might want to look at. These are their competitors. And then it gives me all of this information. Now, be aware this is not going to work with very small websites. Alexa only gathers the top few million websites in the world, which is a tiny percentage. So propertytribes.com is, here we go, number 268,776,000th website in the world. So the #1 website is probably something like, probably Google. I assume it's Google. Whereas this is number 268,000, blah, blah, blah. And you can see the trend over time. What this does not give us is an absolute number for how many people are coming to the website each day, which is kind of what we want to be gauging if we are deciding if this is a market worth entering or not. And remember, we want competition. We want to find good, sizable websites, good, sizable YouTube accounts that have a decent amount of traffic, because this shows that there is an interest in the niche that we're entering. Yes, there are people like Property Tribes. Yes, there are existing YouTubers we're going to be looking at shortly. That doesn't mean we can't enter the market. We'll be coming to that later. So competition is good. We want it, okay? What we can do, though, here, we can take the ranking, so 268,776, and then I can come to this. This is an Alexa rank traffic converter. You can just Google this. So Alexa rank traffic converter. There's a few of them online. This is the one that comes up first. And be aware this is extremely inexact, but it's enough to give us a vague idea. So on this website, I'm going to put in the Alexa rank 268,776. And this is saying predicted daily unique visitors is about 5,000. So even here it says there's a lot of uncertainty. That's because the Alexa rank cannot be directly converted into a traffic number. Only Alexa know the actual details, plus the person who runs the website. However, it gives us a vague idea of how many people. So that tells us that, yes, maybe there's 1,000, maybe there's it says there's 5,000, maybe there's 1,000, maybe there's 10,000. It's going to be somewhere in that range. The main thing is, though, we're not talking about 100 people a day. We're also not talking about 1 million people a day. If it was in that kind of range, that would be too large. That's the kind of thing that we can't really compete with. So let's have a look at Nike, for example. I assume it's just Nike.com, so I'm not sure why I'm searching for that. Nike.com. So, Nike.com, these are the, here we go. So Nike is 455th largest website on the internet. I'm going to come over to here, put this in, there we go. So this is predicting it has about 676,000 people coming to it each and every day. That's the kind of competition that we probably don't want to go up against. Yes, later you could potentially go up against a website like that. Realistically, though, that's far too large. So what we're looking for when we come into Alexa and when we do a rank traffic converter is something in the thousands. 5,000 is a good number. Maybe it's going up into the tens of thousands, but we don't want to see anything where it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands. At the same time, while you're in here, you can also see what type of words people are searching for in order to come to the website. So here we have Property Tribes, Samuel Leeds, Net Worth, Property Tribes, Crowd Property. You can get more here. We can see the similar sites by audience overlap. So Progressive Property, Landlord Zone, Property 118, Open Rent, for example. And then there's a whole load of other information here, where their traffic is coming from, for example. Oh, I need a paid account for this. But it gives you an idea just using the free account. Okay, so that allows you to really kind of dig into the competitive research, because you start with one website that you know, and then from there you can start to look at these others. So all of these and all of these. Obviously there's going to be overlap, and in each case you can kind of plug in the site rank into something like this, get that traffic report again. Very inaccurate, but enough for us to get a vague idea of the size of the market. Okay, but don't quote those traffic numbers to anyone, because they won't be good enough. They're not accurate enough to be used as evidence. They're purely for a sense check at this point. Okay. The other thing you can do is come to YouTube. Now, we used Alexa to look at blogs and websites in particular. We're going to use YouTube to look at influencers, and specifically video influencers in our particular space. Once again, we're looking for competition. If I look for something more niche, so at the moment I've got property investment up, but let's say I do HMO. That's a house of multiple occupation in property, which is a sub-niche of the property niche. So you can see, here we go, the numbers are a lot smaller, 2.8 thousand, 2,000. So these Samuel Leeds are big ones, but he's a particularly large player in the market, so we might want to ignore them. 1,000, again, this is all Samuel Leeds. Let's see if I can take out Samuel Leeds. Let's spell it right. Okay. So Simon, okay, this is a big one, 25,000, HMO via, that's not property related, 2.8. So this is, it looks like most videos have got a couple of thousand views on them, which is fine, but it's nothing massive. Let's, oops. Let's jump over to Shield. Oh, HMO is also healthcare apparently. Let's go to property investing investment instead. And we'll see very different numbers. Once it loads up, here we go. So John Lee, 20,000. Your first houses, 10,000. Samuel Leeds, 26. 65. Property Investments UK, 40,000. So now we're talking, wow, that's a much larger one. Now we're talking in the tens of thousands. Bigger Pockets, this is an American one, so we can disregard this for now. Maybe we might want to put in Property Investment UK. That should help us get rid of some of the American ones. 200,000, that's large. 8,000, smaller. That's good. So what we tend to be looking at here in this niche, so property investment rather than HMO, which is a sub-niche, remember. In property investment, we're looking at tens of thousands of views rather than thousands. So this is the kind of range we want to go into in YouTube. We want videos in our niche to have tens of thousands. This is a very rough metric telling us that this is going to be a market that we should be able to enter and we should be able to make an impact in fairly quickly within that existing audience. So in the case of HMOs, which was the last search, it's too small. Even if we put all of our effort into it, then we might only be reaching a couple of thousand people. If we come up wider to a niche like UK property investment, then suddenly we're getting to tens of thousands of people. Great. If we were to go for real estate investment, so that would be the US version, it's probably going to be millions at that point, at which case we're going to have a much tougher time getting into that market. Again, these are just rules of thumb, but I want to give you some kind of idea of what numbers we should be looking for within these certain websites. So on Alexa, we want to be finding sites that bring in a few thousand people a day, whereas on YouTube, we want to be finding videos that have tens of thousands of views, going up into the hundreds of thousands, but not necessarily in the millions, because that's going to be far too difficult. Let's actually jump over to that real estate investing. Okay, it's not too bad. They all seem to be in the hundreds of thousands. There's a 1.3 million here. So even in the US, this is, I would say, doable. It's going to be slightly harder than in the UK because it's 10x the size of the market based on these video views, but it's still doable. This is still within a tolerable threshold. What you need to stay away from are video counts up in the millions, because it's going to cost you too much to enter that market, or here website traffic up in the high hundreds of thousands per day. So use these to have a look at the competition, coming at competition from a new lens, understanding that competition is good because it means there is a market, but then also being wary of the fact that sometimes the competition is going to be too strong in a particular area. There'll be one or two companies that have got it locked down, and it's going to be very hard for you to move into that area unless you can make really good relationships with those existing big players. Using these rule of thumbs that I've just given you, you can now start to hone in on your sub-niche based on what's already out there. Know that there's a market in place for you already, but also not enter a market that's going to be too big, too soon, and therefore increase your chances of early successes.